Welcome back to Superbly Said, Advanced English Vocabulary and Phrases.
Today we're jumping right into some high-impact idioms and phrases from SpeakDuo Lesson 1152. We're really focusing on the kind of language you hear in, professional settings and modern interviews.
Exactly. And if you're looking to practice these phrases live and gain some confidence, remember you can go to SpeakDuo.com to meet new people from all over the world who are practicing English on video calls.
All right, so let's start with the first one. To get into something.
Right. Understanding the depth here is, I think, the first big step.
It is. The common mistake is just relying on simple verbs like to discuss or to start. And they're fine, technically, but they don't capture the real weight of the idiom.
That's so true. If I just say, we need to discuss the budget, it feels pretty neutral. What does to get into add that discuss is missing?
To get into carries this much stronger implication of starting a really complex or detailed exploration. It suggests you're going to need some time for this. You're not just touching on it, you're diving in.
So the suggestion then is to save this phrase for when you're moving to the absolute core of a conversation, the most complex part. It's like a signal that the superficial talk is done.
Precisely. In a work context, for example, it might sound like this. We have the budget review next week, but today we need to get into the long-term sustainability projections. You can feel the shift in priority there.
And for something like an IELTS speaking part, maybe about a hobby, it shows real passion. You could say something like, I love to get into discussions about science fiction movies with my friends. We spend hours debating.
Yeah, it shows you're fully immersed. Okay, so moving from depth to active commitment. Let's break down the phrase, to be on this.
To be on this. It's a marker of active, immediate participation. I think the weakness most people fall into is just saying to be working on it, which sounds a bit bureaucratic.
It does. Working on is just a status update. It's neutral. But to be on this emphasizes that you're a core part of something live, something happening right now. And crucially, it often conveys enthusiasm.
Like you're on the main team for it, so there's a sense of dedication. Maybe you're in a big meeting.
You could say, we've been planning this integration for months, and I'm thrilled to be on this final deployment phase. The word thrilled just makes it work perfectly.
And for an interview question about career goals?
You could say, I'm excited to be on this new project managing international clients this year, as it's a huge step forward. It ties your personal excitement right to the work.
Okay, next up, let's shift from direct involvement to more conceptual language. Specifically, kind of parallels. This is a really sophisticated way to compare things.
It is. We use kind of parallels to talk about thematic or structural similarities, not just, direct comparisons. The weakness is just settling for is similar to, which is a bit blunt.
And the word parallel itself suggests two lines going in the same direction but never quite touching. They're separate things.
Precisely. It's not about them being identical. They share key features, but they're distinct. And adding kind of is important too. It softens the claim, suggesting resemblance without making it an absolute fact.
So the improvement is to use this when you're discussing things that share formative experiences, but then maybe branch off. It shows a higher level of analysis.
For sure. In a work meeting about strategy, you could say, the challenges we're facing now kind of parallels what the company saw in 2008, so we should look at those old reports.
Or in an IELTS context, yes, there's a character in an old sitcom whose early career kind of parallels my own struggle transitioning from academia to industry. It's a smart analogy without being too literal.
Perfect. Okay, now let's spend a little more time on this next one because it's a common trap. The difference between to freak out and to go nuts.
Right. They both mean an extreme reaction, so people group them together. But they are not interchangeable at all, and that's the weakness we need to address.
The core difference is really the emotional context. To go nuts is almost always used for positive enthusiasm, excitement, joy, celebration. The crowd goes nuts when their team scores.
Yeah. If you said someone started to go nuts because they lost their wallet, that would sound very strange, like they were happy about it.
Exactly. But to freak out is super versatile. It can be positive, like extreme excitement, but it's just as often negative. Fear, panic, anxiety. It's about an emotion being so overwhelming that you lose control for a second.
Okay, so the suggestion is simple. Use to go nuts for that wild, celebratory enthusiasm, and reserve to freak out for when any emotion, good or bad, causes that loss of control?
Let's do a couple of examples. For freak out, in a positive way, a sudden job offer from my dream company made me freak out with happiness. I immediately called my family.
Okay, and for go nuts in an informal work setting. When the CEO announced the merger was final, the whole sales floor started to go nuts, just cheering like crazy. Pure celebration.
And for speaking practice, you could say, seeing my favorite band live always makes me go nuts with excitement. I lose my voice every time. It captures that collective positive energy.
All right, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about reflection with the phrase, "we've come far." It's such a powerful statement.
It is. And to use it correctly, you have to be affirming significant progress over time, usually from a humble or difficult start. The weakness is just swapping it for, we've achieved success, which really misses the journey aspect.
Right. We've come far implies there was a journey. It highlights resilience and progress by comparing now to a less accomplished past. It's very personal or communal.
So the best way to use it is in those reflective moments, celebrating growth, maybe at the end of a big project. It's a huge morale booster.
Yeah, in a work context, wrapping up a tough project, the system integration was painful. But looking at our efficiency now, we can definitely say we've come far since the pilot phase. It really validates all that hard work.
And for personal development, like in an IELTS answer, yes, I feel like we've come far in my English learning. I can hold a conversation easily now, which wasn't true 6 months ago.
Okay. Next, let's define the boundaries of reasonable action with to go overboard.
Yes, we have to stress the negative connotation here, to go overboard. The weakness is thinking this just means to do too much. It's not neutral.
No, there's a judgment attached to it. To go overboard implies a lack of restraint, you know? It often results in wasted time or resources. It's a mild criticism, even if the intentions were good. Exactly. So you should apply this phrase when describing actions that just exceed reasonable limits or a budget. It's a good way to temper expectations.
In a professional setting, maybe you're talking about a proposal. We need this to look professional, but let's try not to go overboard with expensive printed materials. The digital version is the priority. It grounds everyone.
And a personal example. I tend to go overboard with the amount of food I make for holidays, and we always have way too many leftovers. It's admitting a fault, usually with a bit of humor.
Now let's pivot to high praise. The term one-take wonder.
We use one-take wonder to celebrate a flawless execution on the very first try. The weakness is just calling it a perfect performance. A lot of things are perfect after you've tried 10 times. Right. This phrase is so much more specific. It highlights the mastery needed to get it perfect without rehearsal or repeat attempts. It's about talent under pressure.
And it's not just for actors. The improvement is to use this as a huge compliment for any complex task that was done right the first time.
So in a work situation, I expected several revisions, but that market analysis was a one-take wonder. Send it straight to the management team.
And in an IELTS story, maybe, I once achieved a one-take wonder when I delivered a huge presentation perfectly, despite some technical problems right before I started.
And finally, the most informal term on our list, which really needs a careful understanding of context, the slang usage of to be sick.
Yeah, understanding the extreme positive context of to be sick is key. The main weakness, obviously, is confusing it with its literal meaning of being ill. For advanced learners watching modern media, recognizing this as hyperbole for incredibly impressive or cool is essential.
It's pure hyperbole. And it's strictly for informal context, usually around entertainment or youth culture. The suggestion is to use it only in those situations to show high admiration.
For sure. Like, did you see that concert footage? The lighting design was absolutely sick.
Or maybe that new pop song with the deep bass line is absolutely sick. It's so catchy. The key is recognizing the tone. A literal interpretation would just stop the conversation cold.
All right, I think it's time for a quick review. A quiz to see how well you've grasped these phrases.
Question 1. This one's about starting those complex conversations. When the host says, "We got so much to get into," what is he really suggesting?
Okay, so is it option A, they need to physically enter a restricted area backstage?
Okay.
Option B, they have a large quantity of important or complex topics to discuss in detail?
Mm-hmm.
Or option C, they must quickly retrieve specific documents related to the final season's plot.
Feel free to pause the critique here if you need a second to think about the answer.
And the correct definition of to get into is option B. This phrase means you're about to start examining a topic in detail, just like when we said we need to get into the long-term projections.
Question 2 on active participation. A politician who is thrilled to be on this national campaign trail is excited about what?
Option A, being personally involved in or participating in the current high-profile election activity. Option B, having just finished a long, difficult campaign and returning to normal life. Or option C, having the chance to observe the campaign from a detached, critical perspective.
Pause here if you need to think about the difference between working on and being on this.
The phrase to be on this means to be actively involved with enthusiasm. So the answer is option A. It signals that genuine commitment, like being excited to be on this new project.
Question 3 about comparisons. The director noted that the new story kind of parallels the events of the last film. What does that mean?
Okay, option A. The news story is a direct sequel and continues the exact same narrative. Option B. The news story has some similarities or corresponding features to the previous film. Or option C. The news story is completely different and avoids all prior story elements.
Remember the role of kind of here.
When a story kind of parallels another, it means it shares key features without being identical. So the correct answer is option B.
All right, question 4, focusing on those extreme reactions. The audience started to freak out when the surprise guest star walked onto the stage. How did they react?
Option A. They reacted mildly and with controlled enthusiasm. Option B. They reacted in an extreme, uncontrollable, or wildly excited manner. Or option C. They calmly assessed the situation before applauding politely.
Think about how freak out implies a loss of composure, even when it's a positive emotion.
The audience started to freak out, which means they reacted wildly and uncontrollably. The correct choice is option B.
Question 5 about progress over time. Looking back at the company's small start, the CEO said, "We've come far." What is the CEO emphasizing?
Is it option A, the difficulty and exhaustion of the company's initial phase? Option B, that they've achieved a lot of success or made significant progress over time? Or option C, that the company has moved its headquarters to a distant location?
Remember, this phrase is all about the journey from humble beginnings to success.
We've come far emphasizes progress and achievement since a difficult start. The correct answer is option B.
Question 6. Back to those celebratory reactions. When the team scored the winning goal, the crowd started to go nuts. How did the crowd react?
Option A, the crowd instantly became angry and started shouting. Option B, the crowd reacted by becoming extremely excited, enthusiastic, or wildly expressive. Or option C, the crowd began to calmly exit the stadium.
Focus on that positive, emotional energy that's unique to go nuts.
When the crowd started to go nuts, they became wildly enthusiastic. So the correct option is B.
Question 7, about limits and restraint. For the birthday party, the host decided to go overboard with decorations. What did the host do?
Option A, the host did something to an extreme, excessive, or unnecessary degree. Option B, the host carefully budgeted and used only necessary items. Or option C, the host delegated the task to a professional planner.
Remember that to go overboard has that negative hint of being a bit too much.
To go overboard means doing something excessively. The answer is option A.
And finally, question 8 on efficient performance. The actor managed a difficult monologue in one perfect take, making it a one-take wonder. What is a one-take wonder?
Okay, option A, something that required extensive rehearsal and many attempts. Option B, something that was completed perfectly on the very first attempt. Or option C, something that was entirely improvised on the spot.
This is a very specific and very high compliment for immediate, flawless work.
A one-take wonder specifically means success on the very first try. The correct option is B, just like that market analysis report that needed 0 revisions.
That was a really deep look at conversational nuance. It just shows how critical understanding context is. We really focus today on vocabulary that conveys emotion, intent, and comparison, all things that can instantly elevate your fluency.
Yeah, we analyzed 8 powerful phrases, from the shift from discuss to get into the commitment of to be on this, the gentle comparison of kind of parallels, and of course, the big difference between celebratory cheering, to go nuts, and an overwhelming reaction, to freak out.
So your actionable goal now is to take these exact phrases and really try to apply them in your next speaking practice sessions. Don't be afraid to experiment. You can always submit your work back to us for more feedback, and don't forget to check out SpeakDuo.com for live practice to really make this learning stick.